Detroit Pistons select Luke Kennard from Duke University. The Utah Jazz select Darius Baisley from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Triple Double Podcast. My name is Corey Albertson of Triple Double Prospects. We've got Jason Morrow of 270 Hoops and Jason Morrow of Slam. Don't forget he's also a part of Slam. And today's guest is a repeat guest. We called it the Corey and Corey Podcast last time we had him on here. We got Coach Corey Tucker. Tuck, what's the word?
What's going on, fellas? How we doing? Hey, and Morrow, I like to commend you. You know, you're the only Slam employee that returns my phone calls. The other guy from Columbus, it's hard to get him to call me back. He's a busy man. I know he's all over the world, Mr. Darren Scarberry. So just shout out to Darren for never returning my phone calls.
It's a wild goose chase trying to get Darren on the phone sometimes. I understand.
Man, difficult, very difficult. But no, I appreciate y'all having me, man. It's always a good time. So absolutely.
What's Scarberry doing? Is he out there shopping for hair products all day?
Hair products, and he's got a kid on the way too. So,
well, he's been bad about the phone. Don't blame it on the kid now.
Yeah, you know, you already come up with excuses for the kid. He ain't even got here yet. I don't know about that there, Morrow. That's not a bad one. You know, I'll let him ride, man. That's my guy, man. You know, DS, but he knows he owes me a phone call, so.
Well, Tuck, man, let me remind the few folks who maybe haven't heard your 3 episodes in the past on this show, but you're a coach at the high school and the AAU travel circuit level with Winton Woods, and then now with Bates Fundamental on the Nike EYBL. And last time we talked with you on the podcast, you were with a different Nike EYBL team. So we last talked on the podcast in June. So give us the rundown since June, and you made a move to go over with Bates Fundamental.
Yeah, it was an opportunity that had kind of been in the works for a while. I've known Elgin and known Tony for quite a while, going back years. So at the end of Peach Jam, when we all got back, we kind of sat down and kind of figured out, what was the next step and the next maturation with this program. And I definitely wanted to be a part of what something we call a movement. We tell them the movement is coming and it's going to be special. So. We think we got something good going over there. My years with Red were good. Everything has to end at some point in time, But, at the end of the day, you just move on and try to find something to, where you can impact and help kids, man, and make sure that, all these kids get opportunity to go to school for free. That's my end goal. The end goal, end all, be all. So, and Coach Bates and mine, we share a similar vision in that, we want to fill our program with recruitable kids and, kids that can all get a chance to get a free college education. So that's kind of where we did it. Why I did it, and it's been a great move so far. It's been unbelievable. It's been about 7 months now, so it's been a great 7 months.
Well, with moving over there, you're going to be helping Bates program, recruit some of the best players in the country, in states that touch Michigan, states that touch Ohio. But obviously, your first level of comfort is with the state of Ohio, and so you think we're going to be able to get some of these kids in Ohio an opportunity to play with Bates and increase their exposure when it comes to the Nike circuit starting in April.
Yeah, we've been blessed, man. Our 17s and 15s will be based out of Ohio, so that opens up the door for a lot of Ohio kids. So we've been really blessed with the opportunities that Nike has given us to kind of do that. Our 16s will be based out of Michigan, but that opened up the door for a lot of Ohio kids to have another EYBL program that they can look into. So, a lot of those kids that really may not have had an opportunity with some of the, All Ohios or the Spies or things of that nature, this opportunity is here for them. And I'm happy to be a part of it. We've extended the brand down here in Cincinnati a little bit and, got Base Fundamental Cincinnati down here, and their younger groups are 2nd through 8, and it's been really good. And, pretty well received by most, not by all, in the area. But, at the end of the day, you just do what you can and realize that it's all about helping kids. And if everybody's on that same agenda, then it's good. But it's when people who's got different motives that come around and talk, do a lot of talking about what they don't know what they're talking about. So.
Well, you talk about the Bates brand, and it's named after Elgin Bates, and everyone associates it with, of course, Emoni Bates. And if anybody's listening that doesn't know, Emoni Bates is by far the best sophomore in the country. Most would say that he's probably the best player in high school basketball, regardless of class, and a transcendent talent. Been compared to people like a Kevin Garnett. So, talk a little bit about three things really. Number one, the talent level of Emoni Bates. Number two, and I got to witness this when I came up to watch you guys hold a workout where Emoni goes at Ypsilanti Lincoln, the work ethic of Emoni Bates. And then number three, I think, is extremely important, which is with the social media age, with the YouTube age, the pressure on Emoni Bates to perform.
Well, we talk about it all the time within the program. Monty's a regular 15-year-old kid, man. And the thing people don't realize is, his demeanor. When he's out there on the court, he looks mean. He looks angry. He plays with a ferocity that you would similar to a Kobe Bryant type of competition. That Mamba mentality that Kobe had. We call him E-Monster. That's who he turns into on the court. And then from that talent level, I think you're really just scratching the surface. Because Corey, you saw the workouts. I mean, the kid is a perfectionist. He missed a couple shots. He was pissed. It's pissed off. It's quite crazy because he missed one or two shots. I was at a workout a couple of weekends ago, and he's just, he's working on stuff, just trying to make shots all net, like 20 in a row, 30 in a row, all net. He hit the rim on one, he started all the way over. So you're talking about somebody who's got the competitive drive and the will, and the kid just loves to live in the gym. So his talent level, like his ceiling, is up there. And then the pressure, the pressure's gonna be there when you got a high level talent and expectations and social media networking and all that. This is even way worse than when LeBron was around, coming out. LeBron didn't have Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff really too much in high school. So it's different, but his dad does a great job of keeping him focused and keeping him being a regular 15-year-old kid. And it's pretty refreshing when you sit down and talk to him. He's just a regular kid, man. Loves to play video games, laugh, joke, hang out with his friends. You know what I mean? So, but everybody knows the expectations. He knows that when we as a program, if we have success, he's gonna be in front of it. And if we don't have success, his name's gonna be attached to it as well. So, it's not gonna be the Bates fundamental loss. It's gonna be the Bates and the team loss. So. It's like that for him in high school right now. He's experienced some up and down high school years so far. They've only lost one game, but you would think the world was falling down up there because they lost that one game. So, the kid takes everything hard, man. He's a competitor, very, very fiery competitor. So, I'm excited to work with him. Excited to bring his talent down to Ohio and everybody get a chance to see how he plays and his competitive level. So, it's a blessing.
With Emoni, having won the Michigan Big School State Championship as a freshman and all the things he accomplished, he's probably the most well-known player in high school basketball, with the only possible exception being LeBron James Jr. So with that being said, with the 17-year-old team that he'll play on, having Ohio kids, they're going to get great exposure. There's certainly going to be cameras at every single game, and, even the 15 and 16 teams just having that name with it. But it's probably the hottest thing in the EYBL right now. So going to be extremely fun to follow. We're a ways away from that season. But what I like to always say, though, is, with the kids that you select, you've got to be careful that the kids can take that type of pressure, because I've said many times that everybody says they want to play on the Nike EYBL until they get there. And then once they get there, they realize the level of competition. And, the last thing I want you to talk about with Bates is, you've got to find guys that are going to be able to fit that mold.
Yeah, well, you got to find guys who aren't scared of the moment. And I think, we've done a good job so far of recruiting guys on that 17 level who've shown throughout their high school career, whether it be through AAU or through high school big moments, that they're not scared of the moment. One of those guys is a tough, gritty point guard that we love, and he shines in those type of moments. He relishes those type of moments. So we kind of feel like we got a really good one in that young man. I'm not going to be dropping a whole lot of names on here, Corey. You know how we do, but we feel like his commitment makes us really, really good, and having him, with Monty and some of the other pieces that we're able to surround him with are going to be guys that, that want to learn how to play or know how to play with other good players. You guys know college players. When you go to college, you got to know how to play with other good players, and college coaches want to see that. They don't want to see a guy who just ball dominant and doesn't know how to move the ball and share the ball. So the EYBL 17 is going to be an eye opener for everybody, even Monty at first, because it's a level that I think he could have played in the last 2 years and been productive. But now, like you said, it's going to be big game environment. Crowd's going to be crazy. There's going to be courts surrounding every game. So it's not going to be a moment where everybody's not going to be trying to beat you because you got, supposedly that guy on your team. So it's a lot of pressure on everybody involved. And you just want these kids to be ready and prepared. So.
Well, you talked about big games, and we're still a ways away from the EYBL, so we wanted to come on the podcast today and talk about Ohio high school basketball. And this is kind of one of the measuring points, I think, in the high school season where it's we're recording this today on Wednesday. Flyin to the Hoop ended Monday night, and you kind of look after Flyin to the Hoop, and you start to get a feel for here's the guys who've been playing really well, here's the teams that we maybe think have a chance to be a contender for the state title, or even on a smaller scale, a district or regional title. So one thing you said you wanted to talk about starting out was Ohio Mr. Basketball. And, heading into the month of February, we're still in the middle of the season. Who do you think are some of the front runners for Ohio Mr. Basketball?
Well, off top, I would definitely have to throw John Hughley out there. Big fella's averaging 25 plus points, double-digit rebounds. I think he had a 15-game assist the other day. If you ask me, I think he would be the one and he's going to Pitt, so ACC talent. And the kid's gotten so much better. I mean, we've all watched his maturation as a basketball player, but with his body from where he was as a freshman to where he is now, I love his growth. Von Cameron, I mean, he's a bucket getter. I think he's already had didn't he already have a 50-point game already this year? I think he had a 50-point game already this year. He's filling it up, and
yes, I believe so.
Yeah, and I think that correct me if I'm wrong. Besides Gahana, I mean the Gahana, however you pronounce it, the hottest team in Central Ohio. I mean they beat Hilliard Bradley. They beat Pick. I think who they beat Pick. Was it Pick Central or Pick North? So they're South. Yeah, they beat South. That's what they beat South. Yep. So they're playing well, and then they just had a really good performance against Cincinnati Woodward on Fly to the Hoop on Saturday. So they're gelling, and Von Cameron's a huge reason for that. Shout out to my man Coach Chuck. He's really in his second year done a great job with that talent. It's people think, well, he's got players. Well, it's still hard to coach when your expectations are there, and you're relatively a new coach to them. So, great job with what they're doing out there. And then a couple of other sleepers. Malachi Branham. I like to throw Josiah Fulcher in there. He's returning conference player of the year for the track up in Northwest Ohio. He had a great year last year, and you ask me, he would have been one of the front runners starting the season. I don't know what kind of numbers he's putting up. I know that Lima's only lost maybe like 1 or 2 games. But, Coach Q and them got it rolling up there, and I think Josiah's a big piece, reason why, going to Bowling Green. So throw him out there as one. And then, you can't ignore the fact that the kid, even though he's a sophomore, he's averaging 35, 33 points a game. Paul McMillan's filling up the bucket. He's already got 1,000 points in a season and a half. So, you can't argue that fact that he's out there really putting up a lot of numbers. So, in the end, I sometimes it's a senior award, so I think that John, Von Cameron, and maybe Josiah will get the nod and maybe it's a guy missing in the state. I don't know, but I think those are probably your top 3 candidates right now, I would think.
Those guys all make sense. Especially the seniors, like I said, with Paul McMillan, and then back when Chris Livingston was still in state, we had Stubbs come on at the beginning of the year, and he thought Chris was going to win it, and I told him I think it's really, really hard for a sophomore. But, that's probably Malachi Branham's going to be a huge favorite to win it next year, along with maybe Paul McMillan as a junior. But I agree with those guys. John Hughley, you can just tell how much work he's put into it with his body, but he just plays so much harder, and he's just so much more emotionally vested than he was a couple years ago. I mean, you can tell he's really just got bit by the basketball bug, and he takes it seriously. He's a guy in the Cleveland area that people go after and want to give him their best effort. The interesting thing when you look at who's the best player on the best team, and you look at the Mollers, you look at the St. Ed's, the Hilliard Bradleys, and they've got a bunch of guys that are good, and they don't have one statistically dominant guy. So I think those guys we talked about are definitely the favorites, even if their teams are good but not necessarily great. I did want to go over one sleeper, and that sleeper to me is Blanchester's Braden Sipple, a name that some people know and some people definitely don't know. On the eastern side of Cincinnati, if you go a few more miles, you're leaving Southwest Ohio into Southeast Ohio, and Braden Sipple has led his team to a 13-1 start, averaging 33.8 points. He's averaging over 10 rebounds, over 3 assists, over 3 steals, shooting 57% from the field. Kid who's got Division I and Division II scholarship offers, and plays on a small town team where his teammates aren't necessarily all world talents, but has certainly gotten a lot done. So Tuck, I think there's a lot of individual talent this year, and there's some really, really good young players where I think Ohio basketball is headed in the right direction.
Oh man, what I'm excited about is the direction of Ohio basketball. But living down here in Cincinnati, Corey, we were a couple years ago. We were like, man, I'm reminiscing back to the 2010 when I got here, when you had the Devin Williams and the Aaron Thomas and Shamaje Christians and Willie Moore. Every night you could go out there and watch great basketball. Like every Friday night, it was a banger somewhere in the city, but. For a while it kind of went astray, and so now it's kind of like it's nice to have that down here. But Columbus is, the last couple of years kind of carried the torch, and then this year they may be a little bit down. But Cleveland's always, to me, been consistent and had a nice flow. And then every year or so, every 3 or 4 years, Toledo has a team that comes out of nowhere and plays well. But Ohio definitely has a lot of young talent. You think about we hadn't even talked about a Logan Duncombe or some of the other younger guys that are in the we did talk about Malachi a little bit, but the Sincere Harrises and all those guys. So the Ohio's on it's trending upward. And then, it would have been a lot better had Chris played at Bookto and maybe some things happened there. But, so you just keep trending upward and keep seeing where it goes from there.
And I think people get too high and too low in individual classes. And, you're going to have one that's great. You're going to have one that's not so great. But when you look at the number of Division I players and even the number of players who go on to high major schools or, to play at a high level professional basketball, it doesn't alter that much year to year. It's just, kind of an eye of the beholder thing. And it's easy to look back in the past and, say that certain guys were better than they actually were when it was, if it was head-to-head, the eras, they're not that big of a change over the course of 5 to 10 years, over the course of 25 years, 30 years, you start to get a different feel. But let's talk about the best team so far. And, in high school basketball in Ohio, we're, I think, 3 weeks until tournament draw, roughly. So not super far off there. And let's start with Division I. And then Division I, the 4 teams that stand out to me, Tuck, would be Cincinnati Moeller, has lost only 1 game, which was to Akron St. Mary on the road. You've got Gahanna Lincoln, who has not lost. You've got Cleveland St. Edward, who has just been great lately. They beat First Love Christian out of the Pittsburgh area, prominent prep school. They beat Huntington Prep. They destroyed Cincinnati Princeton, who's a very talented team, and I know they've got a loss to Hilliard Bradley. I think that's their only loss. And then the last team being Hilliard Bradley, who there's a lot of really good teams in the Columbus area. Gahanna Lincoln's obviously atop the power rankings, if you will, but Hilliard Bradley is going to be very relevant. So what are your thoughts on those 4 teams and then any other teams you think may be in the mix?
Well, they're the defending champs. So you'd be foolish not to say 2-time defending champs to not give it to them right now, because they've got the infrastructure and they've still got a boatload of talent. And the scary part is a lot of it is still juniors and sophomores. So Moeller, to me, is still number one. They're going to be number one until somebody knocks them off when it counts. I know St. V beat them at St. V, but that's and St. V is a really good team in Division II. They're the best Division II team out there. Could be one of the best Division I teams if they were Division I this year, but Moeller's still the best. Lincoln is a surprise. Last year when I watched them lose in the playoffs to, was it Big Walnut or something? It was like a school I'd never heard of before. Went to watch Sean Jones and thinking, okay, well, I'll see him, and then I'll see him again in the next game, and they lost a home playoff game up there. So, to see them kind of resurge, and I've kind of leaned on Stubbs and some of those other guys who've seen them. They've all bought in defensively. And then, Coach Stock is a good coach, man. No matter what people say, he's had some talent. He's had some things over there maybe not go the way he wanted them to go or everybody wanted them to go. But at the end of the day, he's done a great job with this group. Everybody's bought in. And Edge is Edge. Edge is still, Edge to me, if I had to put any kind of bet down, and, me and Corey, we're both degenerate gamblers at times, so we have our own betting things. But Edge would be my favorite. Edge would be my favorite. The seniors, you win with seniors. The seniors are playing at an all-time level. The biggest thing you worry about with Edge, as long as they can knock on wood, stay healthy, they're going to be the team to beat because their guys are playing with a ridiculous level of confidence that is kind of fueled down to their younger guys. And Bradley's Bradley. They're going to play the game in the 40s, low 50s. They're going to grind you on defense. I just don't think they're going to have enough weapon power, when you run into an edge or the size of like a Moeller. And then, with Bradley and Lincoln, that could be potentially a great a regional battle to get out of Columbus. So those teams are impressive, very impressive. I would throw Lima Senior in that mix. And the funny thing is, Edge has to go west this year, which is crazy how they do it up in Cleveland. But Edge, you could potentially get two Northeast Ohio teams in Columbus this year because Edge has to go west. So if Edge goes west, they're going to run into a very tough, gritty Lima Senior team, and that could be a battle right there.
Absolutely, and if that happens, it's a long way off. But if that happens, it's going to feel like a Lima Senior home game. But I agree, those are definitely the top teams right now. And there's some other teams. Columbus, when I look at it, has a lot of teams that are very interchangeable, that are very good teams. Maybe not quite the resume of a Lincoln or a Bradley so far, but certainly can make a run. And I think Cincinnati, when you look at the second spot after Moeller, whether it's Lakota East, who has a style similar to Bradley, whether it's a LaSalle, who can play that style, some contenders, but Moeller being the favorite down here. Let's go to Division II, and you mentioned Akron, St. Vincent, St. Mary. They beat Moeller. I believe their only Ohio loss is at St. Ed's. Very close game, and one of those situations where it's near impossible to win at St. Ed's with all the seniors, and might be one of the top 2 or 3 teams in Division I. But St. Vincent, St. Mary definitely the top team in Division II. But 2 other teams, Lutheran East out of Cleveland and Toledo Rogers, also with exceptional talent in that division.
Rogers, I've seen them a couple times, and they're starting to hit their stride. The coach, Rob Martin, a former assistant at Bethune-Cookman and at Hampton University, and was a head coach at Tiffin University. He's got that thing really rolling on. Those guys are really playing free. They're playing fast. They're playing with a lot of energy, and they're playing together. The ball is moving. You don't see a lot of selfish play out there. You don't see any selfish play, honestly. And when you get guys who transfer over, and you got a senior group like they had, the number one thing Coach told me he had to nip in the bud was that chemistry. But you got great welcoming, like the previous head coach who resigned from there. He did a great job of helping them integrate the new guys with the old guys, and it's been clicking. So a lot of people haven't had a chance to see Rogers, but you talk about a team that starts 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", 6'7". And they've got, a sophomore coming off the bench, Nate Houston, who's about 6'1", who's really, really talented, and they've got a couple of seniors coming off the bench, so they're good. They're really, really good. The only thing you worry about Rogers or any of those teams that come out of Toledo, they run into like a Defiance. or an Elida who's going to try to slow you all the way down and possession by possession. So they're going to run into that, and we're going to see how they do with that. But the Luther East has been very impressive. They only lost to Moeller. They got St. Ed and they got St. V coming into Luther East this next 2 weeks. So they're going to get a real good look at who they are. With Ed's coming in there, and then they're going to also play, like I said, so they're going to get an idea of who they are and get a chance to see what they can't do against the 2 top teams in Northeast Ohio. And then down here, it's crazy because Hughes continues to roll, even with all the roster switching and all that, losing the big guy. But you don't know, like, with Aiken, what they could be, Wilbert, what they could be, Wyoming, who has a football player who may be one of the best basketball players. It's interesting to look at what the Southwest Ohio brings to it. And I think the one team that we did kind of miss out on in Columbus was South. They were predicted to probably be one of the favorites if they stayed D2. And they really got a raw deal having to go up to Division I. But, so it's interesting to see. Columbus might not have a really good, strong candidate coming out of there.
We have one undefeated in North Union, but other than that, it's really just North Union and Jonathan Alder. I think if you want to talk about like towards the regional and state level, that's about the only 2 teams that honestly can compete at that level with South going up. It just it's kind of a down year in terms of the real top end talent for Central Ohio and D2.
Got you.
Yeah, when you look at Southwest, you also have the Dayton teams, and that's Kettering, Alter, Dayton, Thurgood, Marshall, Trotwood, Madison. You got a lot of talent there, and even though Taft moved down to Division III, Division II regional, and Cincinnati Dayton is going to be just a draw to straws, who gets hot at the right time. And I would have said Hughes is the favorite, but unfortunately, Anthony Felder's situation with the OHSAA is going to slow them down, but Coach Wyann's been getting it done all year, and he might just find a way. So that's going to be fun. The realignment this year is really interesting. St. Vincent St. Mary going back to Division II makes them from being one of the favorites in Division I to the clear-cut favorite in Division II, and have a tough time seeing anybody beat them. And then Lutheran East has been Division IV, has been Division III, now up in Division II, and they're going to answer the bell just like St. V did when they moved last year, where Lutheran East has played just an elite schedule. So wanted to move on and talk about the Cleveland Play-by-Play Classic, and I was going to talk about it last week or whenever we did our last podcast. It's been a couple weeks now since the event happened, but wanted to get somebody from the Cleveland area with some more familiarity than me on here, and we got to see a lot of the top Cleveland teams. We saw a couple at Flyin to the Hoop, but Play-by-Play Classic obviously being better for that, and we saw St. Vincent St. Mary's, we saw St. Ed's. Lutheran East didn't play in that event, but I've gotten a chance to see them twice. And then the other team that I really liked, Tuck, was Cleveland Rhodes. But talk about the experience at the Cleveland Play-by-Play Classic, and the guy who really showed me something in particular at that event was a sophomore from Akron St. Vincent St. Mary's, being Ramar Pryor, and somebody was a little critical of him before the game, and he really answered the bell.
Yeah. Our guy, Mike Roth, Mike Roth, told me before, as soon as the game started, Pryor doesn't really have a good feel for the offensive end of the floor. I said, okay, Roth, well, I'll take a look at it. You may have seen him, the time I saw him before, he was filling the ball up. So Pryor proceeded to go on and get 25 points in the first half. And I think he only missed one shot. And I asked Roth at halftime, how's his feel? His feel looks pretty damn good to me. And Roth, he scored more points in this game than I've seen in 7 games. And Pryor then went on to hit 30. Dunked on some people. He was playing all out of his mind. But he was impressive. He was even impressive in the fly to the hoop. Like, he didn't nearly have as many points and anything like that, but he was efficient. I like the way his body has changed since I saw him last year. I like his confidence. He's shooting the ball with extreme confidence, and he's playing really, really well right now. I'm really impressed with that young man. I think he's benefited really well from the transfer. and getting his name out there, because I don't know if he stayed at Canton Glen Oak, how many people would have been able to judge his field, like Mike Roth, if he would have stayed at Canton Glen Oak. So, yeah, he was impressive, very impressive.
Well, one other thing that Roth taught you at the Play-by-Play Classic was what's going to possibly be the name of this podcast, which is that Shoot or Shoot, Tuck.
Shoot or shoot. Me and Roth were discussing some things as far as basketball and ladies. And Roth said, shoot or shoot. And that right there endeared me to Roth for life, because if you ever get a chance to meet the young man, I don't know how many times he shot his shot with the female, but he made the comment shoot or shoot. So that let me know, okay, he's all right with me. He's all right with me. Whether he's going by experience or something he's heard, shoot or shoot. So, again, shout out to Roth as he's getting ready for his test down there at OU, whatever he does down there in the dorm by himself at nighttime. So, who knows? But good kid. Well, good. Up and coming right. Him and Petroff should be on the next podcast. Him and Petroff should be on the next podcast and see how long that lasts. Should be great.
Oh, man. Well, Jesus Christ. Speaking of Roth, the next event was Flyin to the Hoop. And, I want to start off talking about Flyin to the Hoop with this. I made the decision. So my 10th Flyin to the Hoop, and I spent the last 9 sitting upstairs Trent Arena at one of the tables. And this year I decided, you know what, I'm going to go down and sit Gucci Row, as my man Brian Merritt likes to say, in the VIP section. And in the VIP section, I got to sit with a lot of just absolute degenerate human beings. So talk about your experience Flyin to the Hoop. You had B. Snow, you had Chaz Wolf, and whoever else, and then after that we'll get to TJ Kelly.
Well, B. Snow is B. Snow. He wakes up in the morning 75% a-hole, and the meter usually goes up from there. It never goes down. So he was his usual ornery self, but full of knowledge, but could only stay there for about one game, and then he had to leave because he couldn't take it anymore. And, TJ Petros was there. He came in after he went and saw a very tough battle between Heath and I don't know who else Heath was playing, but it was a much better game than that we had a chance to go see. I think the Huntington Prep game, prolific. I'd rather see Heath play any day myself. So, he got a chance to go see that. So it was interesting. To sit down there, Chaz is Chaz, and he kept Roth humble. But nobody kept Roth humble more than my man from the 313, TJ Kelly. Yeah. I
mean, I just can't think of a way to bring it up without just having to cuss and say, TJ Kelly is a fucking animal, Tuck. He's an animal.
Yes, his range of topics started from where Roth, the night that Roth was conceived. And I don't know how we got on that topic, but TJ talked about that, and then he went back to asking Roth some questions about his personal life and how he does get with the ladies and some of the other things. So it was a range of conversations that happened between Roth and TJ, and at the end of the day, I think their bond became closer. And I don't know if Roth will come to an event if he knows TJ is going to be there in the future, but or he may not sit close to him. But it was an interesting experience to say the least. So.
And Roth held up. Roth held up pretty well.
Roth did. Roth said, I thought he was gonna ride me harder, and I told him, Roth, you got to put a pause between that when you're saying stuff like that. You can't just come out just saying stuff like that, Roth. But he was ready for TJ, and then TJ came the next day and kind of, he gave him what he was asking for. He kind of got on him. But at the end of the day, I think Roth is kind of growing on people to a degree. You can deal with Roth in small doses. So I had a good time with him this weekend. I had a really good time with Mike Roth. He was funny. Almost makes me want to sit by him in the state tournament. Almost. almost.
Well, this has become the Roth podcast, but we talked about that, we wanted to focus this on high school basketball in Ohio, and I think we did that. And then the second, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead here on the script, Tuck. One more thing we wanted to talk about on the high school side. Flying to the hoop. Can you describe to people listening the look of joy on Morrow's face when Centerville High School walked in?
Like a fat kid when he sees that cake with the icing dripping off of it. Morrow grabbed that camera and he panned it all the way towards the entrance. I, for one, thought LeVar Ball was walking in again because it was really it was very reminiscent of the year before when LeVar walked in, pointing at his chest. Man, Morrow had that camera panned in on those Centerville guys, and you got a chance to see all the players. But Morrow had a tear in his eye. He had a tear in his eye. Like, it couldn't have been a better moment for him. I know he enjoys filming those Centerville guys almost as much as he enjoys the Bradley film. That always seems to wind up online during the playoffs. So just, hey, shout out to my man. He had a great weekend, and he had unlimited smoothies all weekend.
Yeah, how do you get the unlimited? How do you get that?
And it ended up with 5 smoothies over the weekend. Not a bad number. But I'd like to jump back and say I think that talking to TJ Kelly is kind of like your rite of passage getting into the basketball world, because him and I had an interesting conversation a few years back when I was starting out too. So it must be some sort of like gatekeeper, sort of gatekeeper.
I remember that one. That was definitely up top. I remember that one. That was a great moment for you because you were writing for Future 150. Was that it? Who you were writing for at the time?
Yes, it was.
Reputable site.
Yes. I think you were definitely indoctrinated by TJ, and me and TJ take our time. We I think everybody's had a moment. Me and Zach had a moment. Me and Petros have had a moment. Me and Roth have definitely had a moment. So it is what it is, man. It's just a little fun hazing. I'm still trying to figure out if I can coach or not. I do a lot of yelling. I guess I'll wait to get back from TJ on that one, but we'll figure that out. So,
well, with TJ Kelly, I feel like we talk a lot of shit on this podcast, but we've done a disservice. I look at the 2 episodes we did with TJ, and they're just not good enough. I feel like we can get more out of them. So Morrow and I have discussed that we're going to do it in person. That's going to be much better than on the phone, and we'll definitely get a TJ episode up here. Maybe one of the first AAU tournaments, but it's got to be an in-person episode, and you got to catch them in the right mood. But that was the high school end, Tuck, and then you wanted to talk about real quick the last few parts of this podcast here, some of the college basketball in the state of Ohio, and obviously we got listeners that follow both, and I'm just going to run through some teams here and just kind of give me your thoughts on them real quick on each of them if you don't mind. So the first one is Morrow's Ohio State Buckeyes, and they started off super strong. Morrow, I don't know what they were ranked. I know it was maybe top 10, top 5, even close to number 1, but have since they were ranked number 2. Okay, so they were up to number 2, and have since lost 5 of 6, and are just 2-6 in the conference. They're in position to make the tournament, but why have they cooled off, Tuck?
I think they play in arguably the best conference in the league in the country this year. I think the Big Ten is probably the best conference, and I think that they've run into some defensive lapses. I think only having one big in Caleb hurts them when they got into conference play. And I think that, they're going to figure it out because they got a great coaching staff, and at the end of the day, they know their identity. They know how they win. They know how they know what it takes to win. Like, I believe in that. I believe in the culture where winners know why they win, and losers don't know why they lose. So, to steal a quote from my man Mick Cronin, that's the culture of a program. And I think Ohio State will still, of course, be a tournament team because they had such a strong start. But they got to get more consistency from the guards, and then their bigs got to be better. Like, Caleb can't be the only big. They got to be better. So
Cincinnati, watching them play right now as we record this on the road, up a couple points at Temple. Cincinnati up and down all year, 11-7 overall, been getting better lately as conference play starts. You coach Jaron Cumberland. A lot of talk about Jaron Cumberland. So what's up with Jaron? What's up with the Bearcats?
Jaron had to get healthy early part of the year, and I think knowing Jaron, he was probably trying to avoid some conditioning early in the year, and then just trying to, kind of walk right into the season. But it's been an adjustment from being a ISO style at basketball where he created a lot, and the coaches, kind of figure out how he wants to play with Jaron and how he wants to indoctrinate Jaron and how he's got him on the ball a lot more now. So it's been a learning curve for everybody involved. But Jaron, like I told him, you're a competitor. The one thing the kid never wants to do is lose. So he's not a kid. Everybody thinks but Jaron just wants to score. Jaron has led the team in assists, I think, 5 out of the last 6 games, just because he doesn't give a damn anymore. He just wants to win. So with that being said, I think they're hitting their stride at the right time, and you just hope that they get enough wins to maybe they can be on the bubble and then have a good run in the tournament. But right now they would have to win their conference tournament to make the big dance.
Down the street, Xavier, like Cincinnati, up and down as well. Cincinnati may be starting to figure it out, and Xavier may be unfortunately going the other way right now. Lost 4 out of the last 5. They're 12-6 overall. The thing about Xavier that maybe Cincinnati doesn't have to deal with is they play in a very, very good Big East where everybody's pretty close to the same level with the possible exception of Villanova. So Xavier's got a challenging road ahead, tough schedule.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I'm really close with Travis. Not as and some of the things we talk about is just guys being tougher, grittier. Just understanding how, like you said, how do you win, like defensively. I know they weren't shooting the ball really well from the guard position. I know that Q Gooden had a couple of struggles here and there, and Paul struggled a little bit here and there, and they're playing a lot of young guys mixed in with the older guys. So it was you couldn't have told me after they beat Cincinnati in the crosstown that they weren't going to just take off come conference. But they've hit the wall, and hopefully they can rebound here in the second half of conference and make a run. They've got the games available for them to get a potential, to me, a bid. You got Butler, who's in the top 25, Villanova top 25. So they got some games that they can win and get ahead, but it's just they're struggling right now, brother. And it's sad because I know what a great coach Travis is, and I know the amount of time they put into it, but they're just really struggling, and they can't kind of put their finger on it right now.
Disrespecting this team by listing them 4th, and that is the University of Dayton, the best team in Ohio by a wide margin, number 7 nationally, 16-2, and they are playing great. Obi Toppin might be what will be at this point a first-team All-American, and they are probably going to dominate the Atlantic 10. They went 16-2 against probably the tougher part of their schedule, and now they're into A10 play.
Yep, they got a pro. They got like you said, a certified pro, potential lottery pick, and that's essentially what it is. And they got guys who bought into their roles early. They know who their best player is. They make sure that he gets his opportunity to score, and Coach Grant has got a great team philosophy of defending first. I mean, that game they had the other day was unbelievable. But what a great culture. We said a fly to the hoop. How many people came up to him and were just so ecstatic and were just passionate, and they were local Dayton people about the game. Like, it was crazy. Like, the coach of that university, man, it's just you get so much local love because they don't have pro teams. They don't have anything like that, so all they've got is really Dayton basketball, and you can tell how much they really love it, and they're passionate about their basketball for Dayton right now. So,
I've said it before. It is a damn shame that we don't get Xavier versus Dayton every year and Cincinnati versus Dayton every year, and even to be honest, I don't know how often, if at all, they play Ohio State, but they should play Ohio State every year because they have such great fans at UD. They deserve it, and having a great team this year. Just around the region real quick, Louisville, Chris Mack doing a great job, came in with high expectations, ranked number 6 nationally at 15-3, his second year since taking over a program that had their problems, just won at Duke. So, it's just, to me, it's got to be an unbelievable moment for Chris Mack to, have done what he did at Xavier and came up and, he's going on the road and winning at Duke. Look how far he's come as a coach.
Yeah, he Coach Mack is a great guy, man. We, had a great relationship, and he's got it figured out. I mean, he's got that thing rolling. They're going to be one of the top 2 or 3 seeds in their conference, and then they're probably going to get, if they keep rolling like they're rolling right now, probably a 2 seed, potentially a 1 seed. So he's got it going over there. So it's exciting to see where they are and potentially where they could be at the end of the year.
Kentucky, ranked number 15. They're going to have their up and down moments where they have so many young kids. I think they're starting to figure it out looking at their recent results. Certainly have the talent, and the guy I like who can flat out fill it up is Tyrese Maxey.
Oh, my goodness. Watching him in the EYBL 2 years ago when he played Red, he was just flat out amazing. And, you could tell from the beginning, even through their struggles, that he was still that light that was shining throughout all the struggles. He's special. Cal team do this every year. They struggle early. They figure it out late. They get in the conference and they make a run. If they can get any kind of interior buckets from them guys inside, they're going to be really, really good and really dangerous come SEC tournament time. I'm a big Florida Gator fan because my guys coach down there, but Kentucky is special. They can be real special this year. They can be a sleeper.
Yeah, it's funny to say they're a sleeper, but I hear you. West Virginia, Huggs has the best team he's had in a while. Hasn't had some of the frustrations that I think he had maybe last year where, he felt like his guys weren't quite tough enough. They're ranked 14th nationally, being unranked preseason. And in particular, 2 guys who are really getting it done for him. Derek Culver, who, has been there for a while now and is really starting to figure it out as one of the best power forwards in the Big 12, and then my guy Deuce McBride, freshman point guard from Cincinnati, is having a great season so far as their 6th man. But Huggs has a team in West Virginia that can be really, really good down the stretch.
Oh, beat Ohio State when they were number 2 in the country. I reached out to one of the coaches from Ohio State. I said, "You guys got deuced." I said, "Y'all got deuced." I know the feeling. 15 points, buddy. So I know the feeling when Deuce is when you're going against that kid. He's special. That kid is special, and he's leading. He's leading a lot of the light for Cincinnati and carrying a torch because that kid to me is. I would have said a 4-year guy, but after watching him, he may be a 3-year guy by the way the way he's playing and the way he goes at it. Like Deuce is special, man. Nobody defends like on a high level like him, and he just competes so hard every single play. It's fun to watch, and like I said, there the light looks like it's come on. It does help that he's got another big man in there who can clean up the glass with him. So they're playing hug ball. They got rid of all the guys, prima donnas, and they're just playing tougher than everybody. That's what it's about with Huggs. Just be tough.
Big Ten, just going through the Big Ten real quick, talk about who Ohio State's going to face. Michigan State had their struggles early on, but they entered the season number 1, and they're getting back up into that range. Illinois, Rutgers, and Maryland all being in the top of the Big Ten is exciting for those programs and a little bit of a power shift in the Big Ten, especially good to see Illinois basketball back. Michigan started off hot and is struggling. Indiana, middle of the pack pretty much all throughout. Any Big Ten thoughts at all?
Just real quick, Maryland, you don't know what kind of – Maryland is a team that you don't know which team you're going to get. Are they going to be the ones that beat Ohio State and Maryland, or the ones who lay the egg against Iowa? Shout out to, my man C.J. Frederick out there getting buckets. So, just one of those situations. Michigan, once they get their best player back, hopefully it's not too late. But, yeah, Big Ten, again, just the depth and the overall unbelievable, play of the conference. I think Michigan State got blew out bad the other day by somebody beat the crap out of them. I can't remember who. I think was it Purdue? Somebody beat them by like 30. So it's the conference is loaded.
Baylor, ranked number 1 in the country, and are doing it with a Cincinnati guy, Maceo Teague. Did 2 years at UNC Asheville, transferred over to Baylor this year, and is having a monster season. So Baylor, number 1 in the country right now. But other contenders, Duke, Kansas, Villanova, Oregon, Florida State. But, who really stands out to you so far as the contenders?
This year to me is to throw it up in the air and catch one, and that's going to be how it's going to be this year. You really don't have an overall favorite. I think all those teams you mentioned are going to be in the mix, but Baylor does it a certain way. They're playing with a certain style, and they play consistently all year that way, hitting a couple bumps here and there, but they play consistently with those guards, and those guys inside know what they do, and they do it really well. So interesting to see how that goes. Interesting to see how Kansas, after this brawl, how they end up, losing some guys for some games. It's interesting to see how they figure it out. So,
last thing, mid-major level, real quick. State of Ohio, going back to that, Akron and Bowling Green 5-1 in the MAC East, always very competitive. The rest of the teams from the state of Ohio up and down. Horizon, Red State's on top at 7-1 in the league. Youngstown State 4-3. They are really turning the corner with Coach Calhoun. And Cleveland State, Coach Felton, is really starting to get that thing going in year one. Or 3-4 in the league, but no one thought they'd win a league game. So exciting to follow that for those who follow mid-major basketball in the state of Ohio. Tuck, last thing I want you to talk about. A kid who's going to be an All-American from Cincinnati. You coached him at AAU, playing on the mid-major level, and that is talk about what Carly Jones is doing at Radford this year.
Special. The kid has always been a winner, somebody who game in and game out, wants to win, just wants to do whatever he can to make his team the winner at the end of the night. Whether he's got to throw 20 assists and score 10 points or score 20 points and get 10 assists, he doesn't really care. He's a winner. He's a competitor, and he's one of those kids who makes everybody around him better. So excited for the future because he's playing at such a high level. A lot of these schools that missed out on him are wondering nobody. Hey, we told you about the kid. We knew what the kid was and who he could be. But at the end of the day, he ended up at the right situation, and he's potential conference player of the year there, and like you said, All-American candidate for sure. So I'm so excited. We talk once a week, about just staying focused, staying locked in, and he's had a great conference season so far. So just trying to lock in and finish off this conference, and hopefully have an opportunity to make the dance. They made it his first year, and it'll be great for him to make it this year as well. So excited for him. The kid's special, man. Really special.
For sure. Great to see guys like Deuce and Maceo and Carleek having such great years, and anybody from the state of Ohio, Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati, anywhere. So, Tuck, great rundown on Ohio high school ball, Ohio college ball, and, some of the other contenders around, man. I just want to thank you for taking the time. I know it's busy with Winton Woods ball and doing the AAU recruiting stuff, so thanks for giving us an hour of your time to talk some hoops today.
Man, love it, man. Love you guys, man. And always follow the podcast. So I appreciate the opportunity. And hey, man, let's just get ready for what could be a great run in the tournament for excitement. This basketball is coming to it. It's coming to the best part of the year, tournament time.
Hey, absolutely. And once this football crap is over on the Super Bowl, we'll really be on the right track. So, guys, that was Coach Corey Tucker, Cincinnati Winton Woods High School, Bates Fundamental AAU. For Jason Moore, I'm Corey Albertson. You listen to the Triple Double Podcast. As Roth says, shoot or shoot. This podcast is brought to you by PlayEasy.com. For players, coaches, or casual athletes looking to book a sports facility, as well as owners and managers of sports facilities, PlayEasy.com is the new one-stop site for streamlined services. If you're looking for a place to practice, play, host your tournament, camp, or other, simply go to PlayEasy.com and create a booking request for your area. Your request will go out to surrounding facilities who will respond with their best offer. Once you receive the offer that best fits your needs, book the facility and you're ready to play. For facility owners and managers, PlayEasy puts the power in your hands to maximize the usage and visibility of your facility. Register your facility for free today at PlayEasy.com. PlayEasy.com is the booking site built by athletes, coaches, and facility managers, and is proud to help bring you the Triple Double Podcast. This podcast is also brought to you by Anago Cleaning Systems. Are you tired of struggling in a dead-end job? If so, Anago Cleaning Systems has what you're looking for, an opportunity to go into business for yourself, but not by yourself. With franchising opportunities available for as little as a $2,500 down payment, Purchasing an Anago franchise has never been easier. Once you own your Anago franchise, you're licensed to clean commercial facilities all around the greater Cincinnati, Dayton, or Columbus areas with the support of Anago's sales, quality control, operational, and accounting staff. Call 513-332-0033 today for your opportunity to be your own boss and grow your own commercial cleaning company under the guidance of Anago's proven and successful system. Again, call 513-332-0033 to learn more. With Anago, your future starts today.